Hello and welcome to an episode of Mangaka's Musings. This episode is going to be focused on Riot's recent blog post on their main website, talking about why they're not including a sandbox mode, since that particular feature in general is creating a lot of discussion within the community, both on Reddit and on Twitter. So we're going to be looking at why this argument that they present for the subject matter is, frankly, absolute shit. Reasons for it being shit is the logic doesn't translate to other scenarios without it completely falling apart. So the logic behind it is frankly bad. The pros of such a system outweigh the cons, arguably, as well as the points that Riot makes within it don't include any evidence of it to reasonably say, no, this is a thing that we're really concerned with and we've seen this before, so we don't want to create that own environment. As well as, there was one more point. I'm trying to think of it. Whatever. We're going to focus on those things, and as well as other stuff that comes to mind. I'll be looking at a couple of really good quotes, really good reasons behind it, as well as kind of just explaining those things away. So you can find the blog post on the main League of Legends page, Riot Pls. It's got the the Vanguard? No, I can't remember the skins' names. Wow, what a bad. Warden? Yeah, Warden Sivir and Warden Nautilus skins as the cover art for the page, or rather the cover art, I suppose, works. So, Riot basically, and let me just summarize this for you because I'm sick of reading the quote. I've done way too many takes on this. They basically don't want to give a sandbox mode because they're afraid of creating this environment, where players will then have this expectation to grind in a sandbox mode before they go into play a game. They don't want to create a world where someone can say, oh, go practice sandbox mode as an insult in order, they don't want to create an environment like that, That is like the main point behind it. Okay, first off, what a scathing insult that is. What an attack on my character as a person that is to be told to play in a freaking sandbox mode. That is just an unforgivable sin against mankind, and that is a historical insult passed down from Shakespearean times, and how dare someone instigate that? Yeah, no, really, of course. Okay, let's take the logic behind that and apply it to normal queue. And you'll find, I think, that they can sound frighteningly similar, So, let's say, people are talking about making a normal queue. Say normal queue didn't exist. It was only ranked. The only way you could play League of Legends was in ranked. So imagine that this is Riot's statement on it. Now, some people have been asking us for a normal queue where they could, practice new champions against other players, experiment with new builds, and try out new strategies with their friends that they couldn't otherwise do in a competitive game or without risking their elo. Now, we don't believe in this. We believe that the best way to play the game is in this competitive environment where everyone is tryharding and every result matters in the sense of where you place on the ladder. We don't want to create this environment where suddenly you have this expectation in the ranked queue to be told to go play normals and to normal queue grind before you can go play the ranked competitive game. We will not live to see the day where someone could tell you in a ranked game, go practice in normals or go play against a bot game. You can include bot games within this analogy in order to learn the game. Okay, it sounds frighteningly similar, when that should tell you how fucking stupid the reasoning is. Pardon me for my strong language here, but I'm quite flustered over it, just because it is that stupid, and stupidity is something that is just I'm allergic to, I suppose. It doesn't make any sense for that point to, exist for several reasons. Again, so the logic doesn't translate over to other situations very well. Now, why do people want a sandbox mode? Practicing an isolated skill, flashing this particular wall. Okay, but you're not going to get that practice within a normal game. What are you supposed to do within an actual game of League of Legends? Are you supposed to just go up to that wall no matter what lane you're in, no matter what time of the game it is, every time you're flashing on cooldown and flash it in order to get that practice in? Not only is that a detrimental experience to the other 9 people who you're playing in that game with, it's not going to be meaningful practice, and people are going to get frustrated with you. Sandbox mode will be great for that. Now, sure, practicing some skills within the game can only be done, really, in an actual game. Juggling CS with lane harass, keep in mind where the jungler ganks is. Those are all elements of the game that are best practiced within that solo queuing environment. But isolating a fundamental skill is not the place that you can do that. There's just too much pressure based on all the random factors occurring within the game going on for you to sanely do that or consistently do that to the point where it's beneficial. I like this analogy of the situation here on Reddit. For those of you, just to clarify the context of this one, I'm going to make sure that I have it. The post, as I recently refreshed it, is front page of Reddit, one of the top posts on that. It has over 2,158 points and over 2,000 comments on it, largely discussed. A lot of the comments are just criticizing the sandbox mode thing, and I really like this one. I think this one just beautifully nails it on the head. I'm trying to find it again. There's a couple different variations of it, but there was one that was just really good. Here we go. Riot, let's see. Oh, shoot, no. Damn it, come back. There's so many fanatic flares in this goddamn thread. I'm trying to find him. I'm trying to find him. Oh my gosh, he was so great. Here we go, found it. Okay. Now here's the quote, and this is in satire. Don't you realize that the best way to improve at something is not to break it down into its component tasks and practice those? Instead, you must play a full 40-minute game. Who has ever heard of a basketball player only practicing shooting or a baseball player only practicing hitting? It's just not the way these things are done. Now, obviously, he's being facetious and sarcastic and saying that this is something that those people do. And in fact, if you're making the point of we don't want to create this, grind cap within the game, if anything, creating a sandbox mode would lower the barrier of entry because then people can freely practice some things that they can struggle with that they can't do within those chaotic actual games of League of Legends. If the only way that you could play basketball or practice basketball was to get 12 guys, however many fucking, I don't know basketball too well, to be honest. Get two whole teams of basketball players together. Look at me being an American. Whole team of basketball players together, play out that game, and the only way for you to practice your shitty-ass free throw was to get those people together, play an actual game out, donate all that time to it, you're never going to get better at your free throws. Basketball is a low-entry sport because you can effectively sandbox mode it because all you need is a basketball and a hoop, and then you can practice to your heart's content. You can get another person in there, and then you can drill on certain things. You can drill on trying to shoot from this side, making this particular pass on over. You get more guys together, and then you can do all these free things within it and practice elements of the game and isolate them. No fucking coach in a real sport is saying, okay, good boys, we're going to play an actual game. I need you to work on your free throws, but you got to be playing the game while you're doing that. No, you sit that one guy out and make him work on his one issue until he fixes it. Now, that's how it works in actual sport, and since Riot is being considered an esport, there's that element translates as well because professional players as athletes need to practice some fundamental skills. If one guy's having an issue with positioning a particular team fight or kiting around a certain champion, what better way to address that issue than to, go into sandbox mode, recreate those situations freely, rather than waiting for them to pop up and, a scrim that takes, 30 minutes to set up because we gotta wait for the one support player to finish his freaking meal before we can get going in, and then, oh great, wait, we gotta pause the game right now because of lag issues, and then you gotta go through the laning phase. A sandbox mode being available to professional players should at least be granted so that they can improve their mechanics and elevate the level of play within the game. Denying them that brings down the potential level of the game, which is a shame, which is a damn shame. Now, that's a whole other tangent in and of itself. And I don't mean to, make people confused that we should take everything about sports, and make that translate over to esports in some way. This element of practice does fit. Not everything translates over, though. So, also, Riot is inconsistent within their message, and that's one thing that's infuriating to have coming from any particular speaker, is someone who's inconsistent with it. Okay? So, let's talk about practicing an isolated skill. Here's a really funny one for you. If Riot's best or philosophy is that the best way to learn League of Legends and to improve at it is to play a game, then why the fuck did they promote that video about the CSing drills? I'll go find a link for you guys and paste it in the video for you. But if you recall, there's been like a drill within the custom game mode and how to improve your CSing. And recently, Riot, publicized that. Say, hey, here's a really good guide on how to improve your CS skills. And what did that guy do? He went into the closest thing to a sandbox mode that the game has, which is custom mode, practiced in an isolated environment, and he did drills, working on a specific skill set. Now, if Riot truly freaking believes, that sandbox mode is not the best way to improve the game, why the hell are they promoting that video? If anything, they say, no, that's the worst way you could practice CS, and you need to go into a real game. You need to have a laning part. If you're in the bottom lane, you got to be working against your opponent. You got to be worrying about a jungle kick all the time. That's the best fucking way for you to CS. Instead, here they are supporting a sandbox, isolated, safe environment for it. That's inconsistency. Fuck you. Now, some really great points have also been brought up on how it can help casual play. I've mentioned it kind of roughly, that you could lower the barrier of entry to the game, actually, because then people could practice those skills, and then they don't have to worry about working on something within a normal game because they practice in the sandbox mode, okay? Sure, there's that expectation there, but I'll address that in just a moment. League of Emily Emily Rand, rather, made some great tweets that I think really brings light to the positive of sandbox mode for a casual player. And I'm just going to read this series of tweets out for you because it's an excellent point that she makes. If you don't know her, great content creator as a writer, who works with liquidlegends.net, same site I work for, as well as lolesports.com. So Riot herself pays this girl for her opinion. Now, she says this: there are many things that bother me about this reasoning, specifically rooted in my love of competitive play. Perhaps she was alluded to like my basketball play in a way. Now to say she's referencing you directly. Moving on. However, I also have personal disagreement with this logic as a casual player. I am admittedly bad at LOL. I enjoy playing, but the time it would take to become good is not the time that I have. Loading into a game takes 30 to 50 minutes of my time on average. In that time, there are so many facets of the game that I could look at to improve. Attempting to improve them all at once is overwhelming at best and anxiety-inducing at worst, depending on teammates. As a casual player, a sandbox mode would allow a stress-free environment without a time constraint to improve as a player. It's beautiful. That's pretty much like the best summary of why a sandbox mode would be good for a casual player. I mean, all those things, being able to practice isolated skills. Then, people wouldn't have to be flamed. Okay, hold on. That's way too fucking idealistic. Okay, that's like some Riot broadcasting BS right there. Let me phrase that back in. If people have that environment where they can prove those skills without having to worry about, messing a skill up or having to worry about being flamed, and they were able to improve their play, people wouldn't be so... Instances in where a person performs incredibly badly because they haven't been able to practice satisfactorily enough to improve their skill legitimately, those cases would decrease because now they have this space to where they can improve. Okay. Now, Riot's whole point, though, is that they don't want to create that expectation of sandbox grinding, okay? It kind of comes across as if they're worried about, the sandbox thing becoming an excuse for bullying, okay? Not that normal mode or bot mode can already be one. So, okay, but it's really such a shame, though, that in the case of this one, okay, that, I wish that if someone was, abusing me in game and telling me I need to go play a sandbox mode, I suck at this game, whatever, I wish there was a way I could let Riot know about him, like tell him that, hey, he's doing these things that are violating like your terms of usage or your code, like some kind of code that, behavior that's supposed to, make everybody try and, be, amicable, work with one another really well. And I wish that you could then, take some, maybe a bunch of other people could also tell on him as well, and then you could take that data, see what his behaviors are, and then maybe you could try, punish him, try and reinforce, good behaviors for him, rehabilitate him so that, maybe he won't be such a bad guy. I really wish that system was in place. Come on, Riot. You have the answer to any such problem if that is. Okay, you're worried about people, using the sandbox mode as in terms of, cyberbullying or some shit. Fucking bark out the tribunal on their ass. Well, no, it's not okay. Hey, you're not allowed to, say that thing to a person. You're not allowed to insult them for that. Okay. Because, again, it's such a scathing insult to be told to be play in a freaking sandbox mode. It's such an attack on a character. Really, it is. So that's a great big deal about nothing with that particular point. And furthermore, okay, who's to say that that environment would even occur with a sandbox mode being introduced? A couple other of the MOBAs out there have sandbox mode. Dota 2 probably being the biggest one, and it is like the second competitor to League of Legends. Now, I haven't looked at that, so I can't say for sure that that is the case. Now, one of my associates who follows the scene somewhat says, yeah, no, we have a sandbox mode. It's not that big of a deal. It's not like causing this rampaging issue or like this whole, barrier of entry thing. People still play it. People enjoy it. Okay, that's fair enough. But, it's the word of one person. But the fact that Riot comes up with this argument and then they don't support it with anything, show me proof that that was an issue within another MOBA game or within any game that's created like a free existing play mode. Show me that shit. Show me you know, studies that show that the introduction of a sandbox mode within a video game within a competitive multiplayer online video game creates more player abuse, as people have this expectation raised on them, and that it really brings the community within the scene down. Show me those studies. Spoilers, I'm pretty sure those studies don't exist. If you don't have evidence for your point is fucking bullshit, is what it is. So, but just to summarize everything here, Riot's reasoning for them discluding a sandbox mode does not translate, and can be abused even, to other cases, so it's unhealthy reasoning. The pros around a sandbox mode are perhaps, way outweigh the cons that Riot suggests are. There's no evidence that introducing such a thing would cause the things that Riot is worried about to such a large scale that it would be overall unhealthy for the community to have. And finally, it's denying a feature that could elevate the overall play of the game. It would be such a nice thing for the game to have. It would be a great tool for everyone to use, and Riot just refuses to give it to us. And if the reasoning is legitimate, it's shitty reasoning, and wow, that's depressing. Or it's a badly conceptualized PR stunt that's hiding their real reasons for it, which I don't know what those could possibly be. There's some suggestions around that, but that's for a different topic, for a different segment, at a way later time. Ultimately, though, I can just say I'm looking forward to the seasonal season of Seasons in 2016, where Riot introduces new features that will, benefit the competitive scene and growth scene, such as the ability to practice in an isolated environment, so a professional player can learn the mechanic skills that he needs to improve his play. Maybe a sandbox mode, I suppose, as well as a replay system, so that teams can effectively look over fights, understand the game more, learn the game faster, elevate the overall conversation, and really grow this as an esport, because that is Riot's #1 goal. I'm really looking forward to the implementation of those features in the next season.